And this video, as you read, is titled, and I'm looking at my notes over here. This is how I titled it: 3 Things to Know About a Con. And the reason I wanted to do this video, which I've been wanting to do for a while now, we can all talk ourselves out of doing things. But when I saw this video, it's Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop, her YouTube channel. She had a Juicy Scooper. This is what she calls her fans or her subscribers. Her name was Bridget, and she had her on January 6th of this year, so January 6th, 2022, and it was titled Con Artist of Love. So I would advise anyone watching this video to go watch that video. I actually sent it to friends. I sent it to one of my kids. I'm a big advocate for learning from other people. I like to listen to other people's stories to, just to learn from them. There's a theme I feel like that has always gone on. I think more people talk about it now. I feel like it's just more mainstream. Since Dirty John came out, more people are doing podcasts, this type of venue to get stories out like this. But it's nothing new. And so when I heard this story, or when I heard Bridget on Heather McDonald's channel and she interviewed her, I watched it. And I watched the Dirty John series on Netflix. Actually, the best podcast I've ever watched was Dirty John on Wondery. A podcast to listen to. I would advise, if you've never heard it, go to Wondery, iHeart, YouTube, look up Dirty John and listen to that podcast. But here's my point about this video. There are 3 things to know about a con. And I'm going to do this in parts because I went back and listened to that interview that Heather did with Bridget. And I listened up into the 12 minute 27 second mark. That's what this video is going to be about. But the 3 things to know about a con right off the get-go, 3 things. And I did them in the letter F's to give words. They all start with F. The first thing is the relationship goes fast. The second thing is they flatter you. And the third thing is they feign the relationship, which means they pretend, or I wrote this down, where did I write it? They are imitating a relationship to deceive the person that they're trying to deceive. With that said, I wanted to go over Bridget's experience with the person who conned her in this interview. And she said a few things, but just to give you some background just on Bridget, that's why I went back and listened. She was recently divorced, I think 2 years. She had 4 children. When she decided to start dating, she went on dating sites. I think she met this particular person she's talking about on Match.com. This was around 2017. She's in her early 40s. She's a teacher. And here's the thing about a con. Any of us can be conned. I personally want to talk about not trying to warn people about a con, which, okay, that's fine, but to understand the techniques of a con, because we all can be conned. What I want to get across, and I wanted to do it in sections of Bridget's video, but there's so many other people out there who tell their stories. And I think that's great. People need to tell their stories. That's part of their healing. What I'm trying to do is be more preventative and explain to people what the tactics are of a con. I mean, again, it's not preventing the con happening, because the con's gonna happen. it's educating people so they understand the techniques of a con, and so they can get out earlier or not be tempted to go any further. So with that said, she was a teacher. I just want to read some of the things she said when she met him. Like I said, it goes very fast. She said it was these are her words, it was very quick. She said right at the beginning, it was fishy from the beginning. That should have been red flag one. Pay a little bit more attention to see if there's a pattern of behavior. And that's what I like to do. I like to see if there's a pattern of behavior that's developing. I need to read my notes here because I wrote really small. She said she did something she normally would not do, which was she introduced him to her children. That's fast. The flattering part, he made her feel special. He gave her flowers. They were saying, I love you 2 to 3 weeks within their relationship. He flattered her by saying this particular thing to her, you're my last first kiss. They talked about, I'm just trying to read my notes here. The feigning the relationship, the pretending, this is what they're doing. They're pretending to have a relationship with you when the other person in this example, Bridget, she really thought that they were cultivating a relationship. But on his part, he was pretending to cultivate a relationship. So he did things like talking about getting married. Let's have a baby. This is very common in the romantic con of a relationship. They talk marriage fast. They talk let's have a baby fast. I guess she was going out of town and he said, take my car, put the miles on my car. He sent the hotel she was staying at. He sent a basket to the hotel. He paid for her hotel stay. Other things that he feigned pretending a relationship, cultivating a relationship with her, is he was helpful around the house. And no one ever did these things for her. Here's a few tips that I want to leave you with in this just part 1 series. Be careful on dating sites, especially nowadays since online dating has been around. These types of people, that's what I'm going to call them. These types of people, these con artist types of people, they don't have to leave their house and search out their prey anymore. They can go online. They can go on their phone. They can go on a dating site. They can, put all this stuff. But here's the thing. Theirs is vague, but what they're looking for is their prey. So if they're on a dating site and they see, 30 to 40-year-old divorced woman with children, and she's putting on there looking for a loving relationship. A lot of stuff is put out there, and so they know a lot about the other person, and then they can feed into their vulnerabilities or their insecurities or their weaknesses, and they can, lure you in. Be careful on these dating sites. People can put whatever they want to put and be something that they're not necessarily. And before you ever meet them, you're kind of attached to them. So just be careful on those. The other thing and when I said the relationship goes fast, it's usually within 1 to 4 months. Very quick. Married, moving in together. And even in Bridget's story, in her situation, she was like 4 months in. Okay. They're talking about having a baby. He said to her, I have a vasectomy, but I'd really like to have a child with you. And so what fed into her, in cultivating this relationship is she was like, well, I would like to have a child with somebody that I have this type of relationship with. So within 4 months, this divorced mother of 4 is actively trying to have a baby with this person that is conning her. but she doesn't realize it at the time. And so what she finds out later is that he never reversed his vasectomy. So she thought they were actively trying. Who's even to say he really had a vasectomy? Like, when you're dealing with these types of people, you got to take into consideration anything that they said to you is a lie. I guess they went on a Vegas trip, and while they were on a Vegas trip, he was like, "Hey, let's get married." And Heather McDonald does say, "Hey, there's two things that are very similar to the actual Dirty John Wondery podcast with Deborah Newville was her name." And they were married, I believe, in the Dirty John podcast, which was an actual story that happened around this like 2016, 17 time frame in Irvine, California. And they went to Vegas and they were married, and they were living together within, I think, 2 months. So these are the types of things that people need to understand. Now, at the end of this little segment that I did, like I said, I'm going to rewatch it and do it in sections. So this particular part that I just did was up into the 12-minute 27 mark on the Juicy Scoop Heather McDonald YouTube channel titled Con Artist of Love, and it was published on January 6th of this year, 2022. But at the end of this section, Bridget says she felt ridiculous. And people do feel ridiculous when they find out they've been conned. But here's the thing. I wouldn't feel ridiculous. She shouldn't feel ridiculous. Everyone needs to learn the art of a con, and not in a complimentary way. But so when we see these red flags, they go off, and we recognize what the person's doing, and we evaluate the situation, and we don't engage any longer. And so she also says that seven of these women, she's one of the 7, they've gotten together because this guy has done it to at least these 7, and now they're encouraging each other. I'll talk about that more later as we go on in this little series of dissecting this interview that Bridget did with Heather McDonald, because I think it's very educational. Every person should listen to it and understand. So again, I just want to recount the 3 things to know about a con. The relationship starts off fast. It's overwhelming. Number 2, they flatter you. They say things that flatter you. They listen to you. They hone in on your insecurities, and they're like he said to her, "You're my last first kiss." Okay, really? But they say things like that, and they flatter you to make you feel like he said, "You're too special for me to kiss you." And that's when he said to her, "You're my last first kiss." And then number 3, they feign the relationship with you. You might think it's real on your part, but they are pretending. They are imitating a relationship to deceive you. And I'm going to leave it on that mark, because that's a lot of information to take in, and people need to understand this. And just to end with this, please understand, for those who find it hard to believe, there are predators searching to prey upon you. Not the PRAY. Let me say a prayer for you. No, it's the PREY. They're the predators, and they're looking for their prey. They use your insecurities, your vulnerabilities, and the circumstances that you're in to deceive you. And so I just wanted to say that. I have no, I'm not like a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm not any of that. I had a parent who was a con person. And when you grow up like that, you pick up on things, because a lot of your life was not real, or what you thought was real wasn't real. And so you can pick up these things, the flattery, the feigning, the pretending, the imitating, the deception, the lies. You can pick up on it. And once you do, it's not hard to pick out. And so for a lot of people, they grow up in nice homes. They have decent parents. They've never been around people who have, willfully and intentionally deceived a person. They're not used to that. So they're not thinking when somebody says something to them, they might be lying. And so I think that could be part of the thing that people need to understand. Don't be naive and gullible to think that everything that somebody says to you is real. And the older I've gotten, I've learned to look at people's character. If what they say and what they do don't go together, I really don't listen to what they say. I listen to how they act, how they behave, how they treat other people. I'm looking for a pattern of behavior. So with that said, this is what people need to understand about a con person. It could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be a young person. It's their character that they're displaying. And we can go in further in these series. But for right now, I just wanted to keep it concentrated on the Juicy Scoop, Heather McDonald interview, Con Artist of Love with a woman named Bridget. And she reached out to Heather McDonald, and Heather McDonald had her on her channel. And it was a good interview. This is my second time watching it, but now I'm watching it to do these little sections so people understand, to be a little bit more preventative, so they're not caught in these types of relationships. A lot of it is romantic relationships, but it could be a friendship. It could be a relationship at work, a coworker. These types of people are everywhere, and people need to understand and pick out the red flags and understand what's going on so they're not manipulated and taken advantage of. So on that note, go watch that interview with Bridget on Juicy Scoop. Be looking for part 2, 3, and possibly 4, depending on where I cut it off. Okay.